Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this week's Health Made Simple show. All right, we've got more and more people jumping on here. Awesome. This week's going to be exciting. So to get started here, everybody, as you're jumping on, if you can hear me, I would love for you to just enter in the chat. You'll see the chat down the bottom of your screen. If you could just enter in your chat where you are listening in from. Oh yeah, you put yes. Well, that's great. You can hear me. But also let me know where you're from. So I am dialing in all the way from Perth, Australia. That's cool.
All right. Well, looks like I got to put my glasses on to see these little chats here. But nonetheless, I see some peeps I see Jess. Hey, Jess, how are you doing? Eric, Jody, welcome. Jess again. Illinois, awesome. Tammy from Destin, Florida, love it. It's my hometown right here. Kind of, couple miles down the road. North Carolina, often. Raph, good to see you. Lisa, you're here from Kentucky, awesome. Lisa from Panama City Beach, woohoo, right on. I think our beaches are officially open, from what I understand, which is awesome. Emma, I know Miss Emma. And then we have North Carolina, Blowing Rock. I don't know if I know where Blowing Rock is. Natalie from Miramar Beach, welcome Natalie, nice to have you, hon. Kentucky, of course, Eric. Is Lisa on, Eric? Is she joining us tonight? And then, who else? I'm gonna keep strolling down here. Patty from Kentucky, awesome. A lot of people from Kentucky, I love it. I don't know if you guys can see, but I got a special guest here tonight too. Bob is in the house, and I don't know if you can see right over there. That's P. Diddy, Paris. Some of you know Paris. You can't see it, but George is on my other side here. Hopefully they're not gonna be too crazy tonight. So Kentucky, Harley, good afternoon, evening to you. My crew from the Santa Rosa Beach, Seagrove area are here, which is awesome. Hello, Whit, good to see you. Yeah, so I got a whole crew here, and I expect that they're going to be barking at me shortly. So I'm going to lose these guys. All right, who else? Where else we got?
Oh, we've got people from everywhere. This is super cool.
Nicole, Boston. Boston is in the house. Yes, good.
Oh, Bob, yes.
Can you guys see Bob? Is he making the film?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's good.
Nice. He's going to make an attempt. I'm going to let him try this as we're getting ready here to get on my lap for a moment.
Oh.
This is going to be temporary, I promise. No,
yeah.
Can't go there. Yeah. Damn, he looks big on film.
He looks really big.
Yeah. He's big, but he's not that big. He looks really big on film right here, yes. Rebecca, we miss you as well, girl. I don't know, you're still around here, aren't you? Yes.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we have shared this on Facebook too, so that everybody watching there, hello and welcome. And I think we're gonna dive in. Let's get started.
Sweet. I tell you what, I'm gonna let Bob get down, but you can start, Karen. I'm just gonna let him down real quick.
Yeah. Okay, while Bob gets back down, I'm going to introduce Dr. Bart. So a bunch of you already know him, but for those that don't, he has been a healthcare provider for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, acupuncture, kinesiology, nutrition and supplementation, functional testing, the list goes on, all from his clinic, Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida, which I'm yet to visit, but I'm going to come one day. He's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a virtual health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to optimize and up-level their health. So he's helped thousands of people in his clinic and virtually, including celebrities and athletes. There's a long list there. And so he is also so generous with his time and his knowledge. So we're super lucky to be able to do these live shows with you every week and be able to learn from you. And this week's topic is really important. So we're talking about stress-induced anxiety. And I think right now, a lot of people are dealing with this. And this is a topic a lot of people are really interested in. So, I mean, let's let's kind of dive in and start with what are the symptoms? What is anxiety? What might people be dealing with when they're thinking about some of these things?
You know, and definitely a huge important topic, especially right now. So we're gonna, as much as we can, we're gonna dive in deep. I definitely want people walking away with strategies tonight that literally can help starting, you know, tomorrow or even tonight if we start to implement them. I promise. Symptoms. And these are Karen, these are all across the board, and it's real interesting. Where, you know, I would say that anxiety is one of the top things that I work with in my office in terms of, you know, different conditions, if you want to call it. And the symptoms are described differently, but they root back to the same thing. So anything from like nervousness, restlessness, and like restlessness may be just not being able to stop, always checking your phone, like literally on the go, the type of person that just, they can't shut it down even when they're tired. That's a type of anxiousness. And I'll get in a little bit more about what's taking place in the biochemistry in a moment, but everything from increased heart rate is one of the major reasons people, I think it's one of the top 10 reasons that people end up in an ER for ER visits is because they think they're having a heart attack. It's because everything gets bound up, their heart starts racing, so that's part of it. AFib can be part of it. Being weak, being tired. And here's a couple real interesting ones, and I think a lot of the audience will understand this when I say this. Signs of being stuck in this anxious pattern, and I'll talk about really what that means. The inability to make a decision. It could be as simple as asking someone, where do you want to go to lunch? Cannot make a decision. And the reason behind that, and we're going to dive deep into this, because you're stuck in fight or flight. You're not stuck in this kind of relaxation mode, kind of creativity. You're not stuck in a passion mode. You're stuck in fight or flight. So the inability to make a decision, the inability to finish a task. I'll give you an example. Let's just say that you're like, I'm gonna clean up my closets this weekend. And you're like, because you can't sit still. You're going and going and going. You rip the closets apart and you can't put them back together. And the people who go through this, they recognize, I just can't commit to like making that decision to where things are going to get back in there. So inability to finish tasks, heart rate increases. There's other ones. There'll be stimuluses that happen that make the body feel tense and tired. If it gets to another level, you can actually start to get some blurry vision and flickering of lights in your eyes. So there's all kinds of symptoms out there that would indicate that you have some level of anxiety going on.
Yeah. Wow. There's some ones there that I guess I probably wouldn't have thought of as well, especially the inability to put back together your closet. I was like, you know, really thinking about that. But also, so let us know if you're listening on as well in the chat or in Facebook. Have you got any symptoms that maybe we haven't mentioned that you're dealing with or you think might be related to anxiety? Let us know in the chat. We'll circle back to them.
Yeah, and for everyone here, remember, part of our goal is that we make this as interactive as can be. So there's a chat button there. So make sure you're interacting. Put your questions there. Put your comments. If you got something you want us to dig into, we'll definitely do it. Yeah, for sure. And we're going to talk a bit about anxiety, and then we're gonna end with some strategies for you. We're gonna go through 3 keys to success. So we always want to leave you with some action items that you can take away and implement right away. So, okay, so these are some of the common symptoms. I mean, what's happening in our body? Like what is anxiety? So this will be this will be the nuts and bolts. This is the part I want to get a little technical on it with everyone. If you get this and understand this can take this real big uncertain thing that can, for some people, quite frankly, it can be paralyzing in their life. But if you understand this, you'll be able to see the track, the keys to success, which I'll give you tonight, but you'll be able to see your way out of this in a really short period of time. So this is what happens. I'm gonna explain it in 2 ways. I'm gonna explain it with when I have my Chinese hat on and when we approach it from Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic medicine, but I'll also do it from kind of today's everyday kind of medical model. And the simplest way in today's medical model is that anxiety is actually not a diagnosis. It's a description. Like an anxiety disorder, you could have been labeled that before, but it's not a diagnosis. So it's not genetic. It is a description of how you feel and possibly how you're acting. Yet what happens in the body is this. You get stuck, quite frankly, it's real simple. You get stuck in what we call sympathetic dominance. So everybody experiences some anxiety. And all that means is that we have moments, whoa, we have a nervousness, a tenseness. The challenge is if we get stuck in that mode. So that sympathetic dominance. So I want to get technical with the audience here, but if you've been following me for a while, you're going to understand this. We got two parts of our nervous system, and then I'll give you my Chinese version of this. You got two parts of your nervous system. One is you got this sympathetic nervous system, and then we have parasympathetic. Your sympathetic is the go, go, go. That's our energy. That's our drive. That is fight or flight. Okay? That is everything's moving, high energy, go, go, go. The opposite of that is parasympathetic. That is rest and digest, and that is create, rebuild, recover. So we have this pendulum that's swinging, and you never have both at the same time. It's one system or the other. And the challenge here, Karen, is that we're mostly running our lives. Hey, this is way before this COVID thing. We're running our lives in these sympathetic dominant states. This is our get up to-do list. That's our exercise. That's the la-di-da-di-da. That's all that stuff that we do, and we get stuck there. Now I'm gonna keep going here because I want to get a little technical with the chemicals, and this is ultimately drives this massive chemical imbalance. And what happens is that we start to use all these chemicals, these hormones, to keep us in this state, and then we run out of them. We burn out of there's one very specific one, and we'll dive a little deeper into this as we go, but I'm going to mention it here. There's a hormone, a neurotransmitter called serotonin, and serotonin is the one that makes us feel good. That's what makes you happy. That gives you motivation. It balances your mood. It gives you a happy mood. It makes you look forward to things, and that's key because the opposite, really, the emotion of anxiety is the fear of the future.
Yeah, wow.
So when we have uncertainty, and right now in our country and around the world, we have the greatest level of uncertainty that we've ever had, at least in our lifetimes. Yeah.
I mean, for sure, the uncertainty is huge. People are really, really struggling with that right now. And I mean, the sympathetic nervous system is important. It's more just the balance, right? The fact that we're stuck in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's well. So we're always trying to keep it simple here, and that's it. It's always swinging like this. So at nighttime, it should be predominantly parasympathetic, rest, digest, recover, rebuild. And notice I said digest in there.
Yeah.
So we're swinging over here, and it's kind of go, go, go. It's fight or flight. And they use two different hormones. This is recover, rebuild, and restore. This is build, this is like go, 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 build, create, all of that stuff. We're stuck over here. And it creates this massive imbalance. Now, the challenge is, this topic came up a lot last time. This creates an imbalance in sleep as well. All right, so let me switch gears real quick before we go into sleep, because I know that's going to be an important one. Let me put my Chinese hat on for a moment, meaning that my acupuncture or my Ayurvedic medicine kind of mindset. And when I do that, we use different terminology. We call it yin and yang. And I think a lot of people, at least a lot of my tribe, are familiar with these words. The yin state, very similar to parasympathetic. That is rest and digest. That's recover, rebuild. So in Chinese medicine, really all we're trying to do is balance your qi. And your qi is swinging from yang to yin to yang. And ideally, it's in a nice ebb and flow. If we get stuck in a pattern, that's a blockage or a disruption or low qi, and that is really the premise of Chinese medicine. So anxiety would be stuck in yang. And now the challenge with that is it burns the rest of the body out. You can end up with adrenal fatigue. You can end up with digestive issues. You can end up with, emotional distress. So those two analogies right there, yin and yang, sympathetic, parasympathetic, what they mean, we're stuck. We're getting too much of one and not of the other.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We had another couple of people talking about a few more symptoms, things like, these all sound like symptoms: chronic worrying, short temper and impatience with others, expecting too much.
Those are real, like all of them. We end up way over here and out of balance. There's and again, we're about to jump into this. There's a little gland inside your brain called you have a hypothalamus and a pituitary gland. And that gland, their job is to help balance things. You get a lot of this. It says produce this hormone over here to balance this out, and that's its job. In reality, that HP axis, or you might have heard it's called the third eye, that axis right there is the one that is supposed to be creating us balance. Now, things like easy temper, no doubt about it, you're out of balance. You've heard the analogy before when people say, you're just getting on my nerves, I can't take anymore.
Yeah.
That is a state of anxiousness. That's an anxiety disorder. So we can call it whatever we want. A sympathetic dominance, challenge. Really the challenge in all of this, not whether or not we're ever in that state, because everybody goes in and out of it. It's whether or not we get stuck there. And if we're there for a while, what other problems is it creating? So tonight, when I talked about some of the solutions, I'm going to give you I want to give everyone some solutions that are like quick fixers. Fix isn't the right word, but quick interrupters, and then can fix along the way here, but literally can break that pattern of the anxiousness almost like this. And then once we can interrupt that pattern, then we can move forward.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, awesome. I think, some of obviously there's like longer lifestyle things that people can do, but if we can have something that can help us right away, just to be able to, as you said, interrupt that, right? That's really helpful to people to be able to then implement some of the lifestyle things.
It's huge, because when we really get down to anxiety, one of the challenges is that what comes first, chicken or the egg? Do you have an emotional issue first, and then it creates a biochemical issue, a biochemistry issue, or do you have a biochemistry issue causing an emotional issue? And the truth is, we don't know. So we have to do whatever it takes to right here, right now, shut it down and be aware of when it's coming. So if you've ever had a friend or a family member that experiences, and that they have a lot of anxiety building up, you can see it coming. And the goal would be if you can help them interrupt that pattern, because the more it comes, unfortunately, the easier it comes.
Yeah.
So the trigger happens faster and faster. That's really one of the reasons I was excited about doing this talk tonight. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into some strategies for people. Let's go with the first key to success. So so number one is recognize that everything becomes stimuli. What does that mean?
All right. So it's funny. My wife and I were having this conversation, and she's always leaning in the direction of like Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine. So the way we always interpret in our family is anything that you ingest creates stimulus. Now, hear me close. When I say ingest, means anything you take into your life. Whether you're talking to somebody, you're listening to music, you're eating something, you're reading something, you listen to music. I think I said that. The lights that you have, I got all these, I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm like glowing right now. I've got these big old lights right here. But all of this is stimulus. So all of this has to come into the body. Your body actually has to interpret it and then respond to it. So the first thing we have to do right away, and this is what gets key here, folks, this is something that we can change tomorrow that actually can start to have very, very effective impact on any anxiousness. We have to be aware of everything coming in, and you got to narrow the gap. You've got to narrow down the edges in such a way that you put priority only and everything else has to cut out. What does that mean? It might mean that the only people in the short term that you interact with is maybe your family, because maybe everyone else is too much. And if you're not careful, you can actually start to harm some relationships, because we all have that friend that's just like, like they just nonstop talking, and we love them. But if you're in that state, you will not be able to hang on to that love. It's gonna impede your ability to have a good relationship. So things like, if you can just narrow down work, if you can narrow down how much music you got in your ears, because everything is stimulus.
Yeah. Watching the news.
Oh goodness, right now, Karen, that's huge. So everyone that's just taking in stimulus, I didn't talk about if it was either positive or negative. I meant any. Now, if you compound the stimulus and it has an emotional impact on you, we are compounding the effect. So we're kind of multiplying it by 2, by 10. So you now take in stimulus that you have an emotional response to, which could be anything, right? Could be literally anything. Just turn on Facebook and it's gonna pull you somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that takes it to a whole nother level, And so that now is stimulating that central nervous system, that sympathetic dominance, and then we're swinging that pendulum even farther away. So the first action that we can do, look at everything that you ingest, music, food, everything, and see where you can narrow the edges down and just eliminate things. It doesn't have to be for the long haul, but right here, right now, if you're out there right now, and you're listening to this, and listen, I know why there's a lot of people on tonight, and it's because a lot of people experience anxiety, and it's not good person, bad person. You're human. We've got a lot going on nowadays, but right away, like tomorrow morning, we can start narrowing the edges.
And I think also even just the awareness to it, like being aware that actually some of these inputs might be affecting your anxiety. Like a lot of the time we think, oh, we're just anxious, or it's like we're not aware that certain inputs are actually affecting us in this way. So even just if you take from this more awareness to be able to see throughout your day, how are these interactions making me feel? Are there people that maybe I just need a little bit of time away from? We're not telling you to never see them again, but there might be some inputs in your life that are making you feel worse, that are sucking your energy, that are making you more anxious. And then there might be other interactions or other pieces of input that are making you feel good. There might be things that make you relaxed. And so some awareness around, I know that always helps me.
Yeah, and that's well said, Karen, because then that's really what it is. That's really what I mean. to create an awareness of where your energy is going and what's requiring energy from you. Instead of feeding your soul and feeding your energy, what is taking away your energy? What do you have to use energy to defend yourself with? And that absolutely positively has to be number one. And I would say right on the top of that list right now are things like social media and your emails and stuff on the computer. I think we're all guilty of it. But right now, if we want to make an immediate change tomorrow, that has to change.
Oh, massively. I find myself down a rabbit hole right now. Like all these new, even just with the list of different, horror stories or things that we can't control. I think that's what's going on right now. There's all this different media. Yeah, I mean, it's all about all the different inputs. That's just one for me. But as we're saying, it's just awareness of what's going on. So I think that's really important for people, and that's an awesome takeaway. So the next one, number 2, is sleep. Our next key to success. How does this interact with anxiety?
So sleep is huge. And the challenge here is a lot of people that are experiencing chronic anxiety have an issue with sleeping because they get so wound up, they're stuck in that sympathetic dominance. And then to make things worse, this is a very common thing I'll hear. Well, I couldn't sleep, so I got up and I got on my phone. That didn't work, so I got up and I got on the computer. And it's just a vicious cycle that we go down, just feeding into it. The challenge here is that with a lot of sympathetic dominance is that sometimes the most natural thing seems to feed into that dominance. So the flip side of this, again, is this. We heal when we sleep. The better we sleep, the more we heal. So we're trying to swing this pendulum. So I want to keep this as simple as can be. If you're thinking and going and reading email and doing all this stuff and busy at work and all of the things and taking care of family, taking care of a half dozen dogs, whatever it may be, if you're doing all these things, doing, you're not over here on this side. And it is this side, this parasympathetic activity that helps us rest. It helps us digest. And we have to talk about that in just a moment here. Recover, rebuild. Key point here is that when you sleep is actually when you restore the majority of your neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine. So sleep becomes one of the absolute most important things that we can do as humans. And I think I said this last week, that if there's 2 things that we got to do well as humans, we got to sleep, we got to poop. And if either one of those are not going well, they become top of our priorities. The beauty is last week I wasn't really giving remedies for sleeping. This week, in the next topic here, I'm going to share some things that are absolute home run hitters when it comes to sleeping better. Okay,
which is awesome because it is something that people struggle with a lot. And I guess also if people aren't sleeping, I mean, is that circle again, like what makes which worse? Is the anxiety making you not sleep? But then also if you're not sleeping and you're tired, that's going to make you more anxious. We were talking about before, like how breathing has a part to play with that.
Yeah, breathing's huge. So the people here that know me locally, that have been in my clinic, and if I've worked with you when it comes to anxiety, one of the first tools that I give everyone is I help them relearn how to breathe. And as simple as it sounds, or as silly as it sounds, we got to learn how to learn how to breathe properly again to bring our bodies back into parasympathetic activity. So I'm going to do my best to, I guess, kind of demonstrate. I'll verbalize it first. We should be able to take this nice, long, slow breath up in through our nose that goes down, fills up our belly first, then our chest, and then we should be able to exhale slowly and let those both go out like a balloon. All right. So what that means, and this is real interesting. When I have a table, a chiropractic table in my office, I lie people down, I put my hand on their belly, and I ask them to breathe in and make their belly go up. So those of you watching right now, just try this out and put your hand on your belly, take a deep breath in, and see if you can make your belly go out, not your chest, your belly. So you gotta blow it up like a balloon. And I would say 9 out of 10 people, when I first ask them to do it, can't get that rhythm down because they're stuck in sympathetic dominance. When they take a deep breath in, their belly actually goes in and chest out. That is a stress breath. And now I find that people lie down at night and they have that short, tight breath. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to sleep. That's one of the key things to sleep. So the magic here, sometimes, again, we're talking about action steps for tonight. So if you're in my clinic, I'd have you lie down. I'd get you to, one way or another, I'd get you to be able to breathe into your belly. I have everyone do 10 breaths. They're lying down in your bed. Your bedroom is dark, cold, and quiet. Absolutely, right? Because we're decreasing stimulus. So it's dark, cold, and quiet. We're lying there. We had a nice Shavasana yoga posture. We're lying there, nice flat pillow. And you put your hand on your belly and your hand on your chest. And when you breathe, you want your belly hand to move first. And you do 10 of those breaths. You're going to go in through your nose. And there's a little strategy here, so I'll share it tonight. You count your breath coming in. All right, so you count that and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to double your exhale. So you kind of get into a rhythm. So you're paying attention to your breathing pattern. So earlier you're talking about awareness. So now you bring awareness to the breathing pattern. Most people take a deep breath in, up high, stress breath, and then they exhale out of stress. That's a stress exhale. Stress breath, stress exhale. And that heightens energy. So some of you that have been in our yoga classes will use that fire breath to create fire intentionally. And we're trying to do just the opposite. So anytime you can slow down the breathing rhythm, you'll always enhance the biochemistry, the neurology, but also the hormones that are going to be produced at night.
Okay, I think that's a really good strategy that everybody can use right away, right? Like they can start tonight. We want everybody to go out and make sure that you're doing some deep belly breathing before you go to sleep. Yeah, we had somebody share in the chat here from a personal experience. If I do bills in the evening, I don't have a sound sleep. I changed my routine and now I don't dare do numbers past 4 p.m. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's the awareness. Whoever commented on that, that's the awareness. And thanks for sharing that, because a lot of times people don't think it's that simple. Sometimes we have things that trigger us at the end of the night. Like, who the heck wants to pay his bills before they go to bed? That is definitely not an evening or a nighttime activity. So that's solid awareness. And those little things that we might not even be aware of, like we might, write this massive to-do list before we go to bed. And I know for some people that works, but it might create some angst. You might think, man, and then you start thinking about that to-do list. So just give yourself a check-in and see where you're at with those different things.
Yeah. Another question was, have you ever heard of the Wim Hof method, breathing and cold shower therapy?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. That's taking breathing to a whole nother level, like a technique, but I will just be mindful for those people that have anxiety. I don't necessarily recommend that person getting into a cold shower. If this was live, I would ask you, why not? And then you would say something like, because that's stimulus and the body will have to defend it. So we use things like cold showers to literally put the body under stress intentionally to build strength. That's what we call hormesis. That's a natural form of stress, a natural way that the body builds strength. But if you're already kind of tilting, you don't want to put your body under more stress. So absolutely love it. I incorporate some of it myself. I'll do some cold showers. We have an ice bath. I don't use it that much, but a cold shower is just as effective. I got in the pool the other day. It was cold. Yeah.
Yeah, cold maybe.
Cold, yeah. Cold-ish. 80 degrees out. Yeah. Cold-ish. Yeah.
Coldish. Somebody else said there's an app called Calm that they've used.
Yeah. I tell you what, any breathing technique that helps you breathe better, because listen, we are all this way. We're here. We're in this sympathetic state. All of us. Totally guilty. Yes. Yeah. So anything, any tool, mechanism, anything that still provides, natural health without interfering the way that, God created our bodies, absolutely bring, so we can bring a little bit of this other side, this parasympathetic activity. No doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. All right, so let's move on to number 3, where we're gonna talk about the biochemistry aspect. So how does our biochemistry, I guess, affect how we're feeling and this whole, feeling anxious, anxiety?
Really, Karen, this is the nuts and bolts of it. When you have the symptoms of anxiety, we have an imbalance. You don't have enough serotonin left in the body. You've used it up. That is your feel good. That's your good mood. That's your motivation. That's the creative thought. That's all those fun stuff, the emotions that we want to have. You burned it up. We're burning up. So now we have this imbalance. How we create that imbalance sometimes isn't just because you're a type A driver, and we'll talk about that because I got to talk a little bit about diet here. Go figure, right? Yeah, go figure. Yeah, we're always going to bring things back to nutrition one way or another.
Yeah, but it's important to hear because some people don't make the link, right? They might not think that we're going to talk about
absolutely.
Nutrition.
So here's how it goes. So I'm going to tell you where serotonin. So there's a little gland in your brain called your pineal gland. Now that pineal gland, little guy, doesn't get much credit for the quality of your life, but it's important because it makes 2 real important hormones. One's called melatonin, which is a precursor. Well, we all know it as the one that helps us sleep better, right? But just a little FYI for everyone. Melatonin is the #1 hormone that at night when you release it, naturally is a key here, when you release it, it also hunts down cancer cells. So that's another reason why sleeping is so incredibly important for the longevity of humans and also being in that superhuman status. So we need good melatonin. So we need a healthy pineal gland. That melatonin is a precursor to making serotonin. So no sleep good, no feel good. Okay, so this is the relationship here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little bit deeper here because this is where it all gets pretty interesting. So we're going to say, all right, so then how do we make good melatonin? What's the actual nuts and bolts of it? And there's a very specific amino acid called tryptophan. Okay, tryptophan is something that we usually consume. Technically, I've yet to find a supplement out there, a supplement company. I've looked at them all, so you don't need to recommend any to me that I have any faith that they're actually doing what we want in the body. So we've got to ingest it, meaning we've got to eat tryptophan. The most common sources of tryptophan are things like turkey and chicken and eggs. And you get some in nuts and you get some in spinach, but mostly they're going to be animal proteins, mostly like turkey and eggs. So that tryptophan is in the gut, is broken down in the gut, and then with some other minerals is carried up, crosses the blood-brain barrier, and that tryptophan then helps you make melatonin and serotonin. So the challenge here is this. 1, are we even getting any tryptophan in the body? That's just one.
So you really need to be eating, and that didn't really sound like a lot of food. So what if you don't eat chicken and turkey or eggs?
Well, I'll tell you what, clinically, I'll tell you, and a lot of other practitioners that do the same work that I do. So I'm never in one side or the other when I say, like, I don't say that keto is good for everyone or paleo is good for everyone. These are tools that we get to use for individuals, or carnivore diet for that matter. Yet there seems to be a line that gets drawn in the sand sometimes when it's vegetarian and meat eaters. Well, I'll tell you, clinically, hands down, the vegetarians have a higher level of anxiety of any group out there. And I think, I deducted is I don't have any massive research on it, but all my other fellow practitioners that are doing this work will tell you the exact same thing. And the primary root of that is because they don't get that fundamental amino acid that the brain needs in order to make melatonin and serotonin. And listen, I know some people on here will be like, well, I'm not eating meat. Okay, I got it. We're gonna work around that. So I'm not saying you have to become meat lovers or meat eaters, yet sometimes we have to look at the biochemistry and say, what could we be missing? And at that point, we can dive a little bit deeper.
And then, so the other part was maybe we're not absorbing it.
Yeah, and that is probably most of the cases where if our guts are not healthy, what does that mean? That we can't digest our food good. We don't have the right stomach enzymes. We have a little bit of leaky gut. We have some bloating. We have a little bit of IBS. We're on some medications. And listen, an aspirin a day will inhibit some of the key minerals you need in order to get tryptophan crossing the blood-brain barrier.
Wow.
So there's so many other links here. And that's why you're always going to hear me go back to whole food diet, nurture the body, sleep well, poop well, think well, smile well, we're good. We start to interfere with those things, right? When then we start to lose our superhuman status, because everyone on here, everyone listening on Facebook today, we are designed to be superhuman, like incredibly physically, incredible emotionally, incredible when it comes to our mental capacity, incredible when it comes to our creativity. And when we see these things start limiting down, unfortunately, so often we say, oh, that's age or whatever. But if we get down to the root of it, our digestive system plays a massive, massive role in how well we can get the foundational stuff, the minerals, the amino acids up into the brain.
Yeah. And I think that'll be a whole show. Hey, we're going to do, if you guys would like us to talk, more about gut health, let me know in the chat. Just put yes in the chat. We'll put gut. And also, if you've got any questions on what we're talking about right now, because there is a lot when it comes to some of these, when it comes to the biochemistry. Oh yeah, we've got some yeses. Yeah, awesome. We'll definitely do one on that. But if you've got any questions also at this stage, let us know in the chat. Okay, so there's obviously like a piece of when it comes to fixing this biochemistry. Is there a piece in terms of what we eat?
Is it? I'm sorry, say that again.
So in terms of our diet, what kind of what we're eating having a part to play with this biochemistry?
It does.
What kind of things can we do to try and make some of this is out of whack?
Part of the long-term fix is an awareness of what's going on with our gut, no doubt. Tonight, I want to make sure people have, especially with something like the emotions of anxiety, I want to give you some tools that no doubt are going to be able to be implemented immediately. Because the truth is, Karen, you and I both know, and you've been doing this for a long time too, gut fixes are not overnight. They're not. We can move in the direction of fixing our gut overnight, but it takes time. It's like replanting a garden. You need like a whole season, and that's reality. So guts are usually 2 to 4 months. And I don't want anyone listening to this that if you experience anxiety, I've got tools that I'm going to go into right now that you can start using these tools and have changes. I dare say tomorrow, but you'll need the stuff that I'm talking about to get them. And then right away, you'll be able to start taking some of the edge off of this anxiousness and really start to experience your life a little bit different once again.
So let us know what these are.
Yeah, so I'm going to dive into them. And there's 2 core ones, and then there's kind of this add-on one. They really should be kind of all together, but they're used a little bit differently. So the first one I want to talk about, and most people are going to already know this one, it's called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an herb. It's one of the oldest herbs that I know that's been used in both Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And the easiest description I would tell you is that ashwagandha is like giving someone Disneyland in a bottle. It just makes you feel good. Yeah.
Disneyland in a bottle.
Disneyland in a bottle, yes. And I'll talk to you about quality important and then some of the synergistic herbs that go with it to make it fast acting. So there's one I use called ashwagandha complex, which implies that it's the ashwagandha herb with a couple other herbs. And I'll talk to you why we combine those in just a moment here. Because really we're always looking for the safest, fastest, and most effective clinical approach to using supplements, whether it be herbs, vitamins, or minerals. So with ashwagandha, if you've ever had the experience of anything we're talking about, just wound up, on edge, worrying, all of those things, ashwagandha, the key to ashwagandha is that it affects the HP axis. That is what's beautiful about it, that it literally starts to calm that regulating gland down, that hypothalamus pituitary axis. Remember, the pituitary is talking to the gut. Because if the gut gets stuck in sympathetic dominance again, we're not going to digest, especially our meats. That's why so many people move away from meat. It's because we're stuck in sympathetic dominance, and you have poor hydrochloric acid going on in your gut, and then you'll never absorb your amino acids, which tryptophan is. So ashwagandha is one of the most easy, gentle herbs to literally shift your emotions and shift your mood like that. Now, with that being said, okay, I got to back that up a little bit. Ashwagandha, taken over a long period of time, gold, literally absolutely gold. There's a couple herbs that they blend it with to make it much more fast acting, because anyone that's experiencing anxiety does not want to wait 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months for it to kick in. And I understand that. So they combined it with a couple key ones. Skullcap, which is an incredible herb. And again, we use that in Chinese medicine all the time. The beauty about skullcap, it's fast acting. It takes whatever is within your body and it acts faster. So they combine the ashwagandha, it's heavy on ashwagandha, a little bit of skullcap to enhance the benefits or the speed by which ashwagandha is going to work. And then on top of that, they add a little bit of Korean ginseng. Korean ginseng, it's the number one priority, or number one claim to fame is that it helps people's stamina. So everybody that is chronic anxiousness, chronic anxiety, technically, well, this would be another show as well, they're also right on the edge of adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
So it's a very smart one, because we don't want to calm you down and then you go back into the same patterns that drove you there. And if you are, we need to have the body have stamina. So ashwagandha is an incredible adaptogen herb. And the beauty of ashwagandha, so many of my audience has heard, like the people who followed me for a while, they heard of things called adaptogen herbs, which literally are herbs that we put in the human body that are brilliant. Their nature knows what to do and help us adapt to our environment. Ashwagandha is considered a full body adaptogen. Some are just for particular organs and glands, but ashwagandha, that's its uniqueness, is that it's a full body adaptogen herb. There's one more in there too, and it's called licorice root. And licorice root is very, very medicinal for our adrenal glands. And for that very purpose, anybody who is dealing with chronic anxiousness, they're pushing adrenal fatigue. It's one of the first tests I run. If you have chronic anxiety, I'll run an adrenal panel on you just so we know what state, because oftentimes I got to treat both. But in the beginning, right here, right now, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with those, those emotions, whether it be inability to make a decision, whether you have fear, worry, concern, you just can't let it go. You just can't stop moving, can't stop picking up your phone. Those are all signs that you're stuck in sympathetic dominance. So I absolutely love this combination of herbs, and that's all in one. That's just one there. And that's called ashwagandha complex. And real quick note, and I know you'll put a link in here for peeps if they want to get it. When people get it, I write the dosing in there, and I will tell you that I put a mild dose in there. But the beauty about ashwagandha, you could take the dose that you'll see that gets, when you get a piece of paper and it says Dr. Bart's recommended dosing, you can see that dose. You can double it. If you have a lot going on, don't wait. Literally, you can double down. If you've got double the stuff going on, double down on the tools that your body can use, and you fix your body up that much quicker. The people that put on this formula, and I'll tell you, I use it. I use it regularly. I raise my hand. I'm the first one that is guilty as can be is going all the time. So ashwagandha is beautiful. If my wife stepped in here, she would tell you that it's one of her absolute favorite herbs, because it's one that pulls her off the ledge, and she's got hormones and stuff like that going on. So it's real, but for all the people out there that have imbalanced hormones, remember that little gland, that HP axis, that is what's trying to regulate all the hormones. So if that's out of balance, ashwagandha, the herb for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Time of day, we've got some questions here about the ashwagandha. Time of day to take it? So
I'll have you spread it through the day. And the reason being is, in this particular, sometimes if I just have you take a vitamin or mineral, I just want it in your body. So it nurtures your body. Because we want it to support your biochemistry and your emotional state, we need it dosed throughout the course of the day. So I usually do it 3 times through the course of the day. My gentle dosing is usually 1-3 times a day, but I'll put people on 2. In some scenarios, I'll put them on 3. Listen, if you're going to go high dose, you can either reach out to me or reach out to your doctor, make sure it's okay. And again, that quick impact is when we combine those different herbs, the skullcap, the Korean ginseng, the licorice root. So we are tackling all of the kind of side effects of being stuck in that sympathetic dominance. And we really get an opportunity to impact all of them at one time.
Yeah, awesome. Another person, Tammy, he also asked, I'm on Celexa to keep balanced. The majority of the time it works, but sometimes life just gets too much. Can I take ashwagandha while on Celexa?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. Ashwagandha should not, and I believe Celexa is, I think it's an SSRI. So, of course, when it comes to your medication, make sure you check with your doctor that they're comfortable with you being on different things. But I would say with ashwagandha, the only people that I say, hey, listen, make sure you check with your doctor first before taking it if you're breastfeeding. And that's kind of like a blanket cover. It's not going to do anything to your baby. I just want to know where your hormones are prior to doing that. So that's just kind of a good, smart thing to do here. Just real quickly, when a lot of those things, so out there right now, well, I tell you what, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, because one of the other herbs that I'm going to talk about is going to kind of do the same thing those are doing.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, we're going to talk about, a couple of different supplements. And then I'm going to put the link in the chat for you guys so that you can know where you can get it all. And then Dr. Bart's dosing will be all on it, the time of day, all that kind of stuff will be able to be sent out to you. So okay, we talked about the ashwagandha complex. What's the next one?
All right, the next one I'm kind of grinning because no one's going to have heard of this before.
Okay.
But clinically, again, so, my background, of course, chiropractic and functional nutrition, but also Chinese medicine. And in Chinese medicine, we're trying to balance the body. When you have anxiety type symptoms, there's a lack of grounding. And the number one thing that we need to ground ourselves are minerals. And then clinically, what we want to do is get those minerals bound or simultaneously to come up with the tryptophan, cross the blood-brain barrier into the brain, so then you can make things like melatonin and serotonin. So there's so many different herbs out there that people would say, well, this is really good for anxiety, and very rarely will this one come up, but I will tell you, this is my secret weapon when I use it with the ashwagandha, and the name will mean nothing to anybody. It's called Min Chex. This is a combination mineral product. It's a mineral, synergistic minerals, combined with something called bovine orchids. And really that product right there helps ground the body. It's very, very calming. For some people, I've used this only. They just, I don't know, they didn't want the ashwagandha, or they used something else that didn't work. But this particular one, I've used this by itself at times, and I've had great success with it. This can actually help us start to heal the imbalance of that biochemistry. So the ashwagandha makes that immediate change for us and can hold the gland kind of steady, kind of support it while it's healing itself up, because our body does go into repair every single day. But the Min Chex is some of the foundational minerals and the ability to get them through that blood-brain barrier to get up into the pineal gland so we can make the melatonin and make the serotonin. This is one of my secret weapons that no one's ever heard of, but I absolutely rely on this product, and especially in almost all of my anxiety cases. And it's called Min Chex, and again, it will mean nothing to anybody, but that name by itself, or that product by itself, is one of my absolute go-to weapons.
Yeah, wow, awesome. No, I hadn't heard of it before. I heard of it from you, but and yeah, the name might not mean anything, but I will put it in the chat, and so then people can have a look at it. Okay, so we've got the ashwagandha and the Min Chex, and then we've got a bonus, another secret weapon, right?
So
one that,
yeah. So if people did those two, I promise you will be moving in the right direction. I'm confident, and I know that clinically, and a lot of my colleagues do, and I feel real good about this. The next one I'm going to introduce is probably the one I use the most frequently. With that being said, you don't have to take it every day. You really only take it in those moments that you are having a moment, and it's called Kava Forte. Just think of the word kava. Now, I want to explain this in a little detail, because there's a lot of kavas out there that just will not do the trick. You'll be kind of wasting your money. So you heard of kava bars. So this one right here, so I call it Disneyland in a bottle over there with ashwagandha. This is your chill out pill. And I'm not acting as anyone's doctor tonight. I'm not telling you to take medications or not, but this is often what I would say would be the equivalent to like a Xanax. I think it just works better. No hangover, no side effects. So it literally has the impact of, you can take a couple kava, 1 or 2 kava, 10 to 15 minutes, it kicks in, down regulates that sympathetic mode, starts bringing you more, swings the pendulum over into the parasympathetic activity, works as a natural muscle relaxer, which takes tension out of the body, helps us breathe a little bit better. This is one of the most powerful. So if anyone here has that combination of poor sleep and anxiety, this is money. Because meaning this is your gold right here. And again, you don't have, the beauty is this one you don't have to take all the time. But I want to share a little bit about this herb because it's you guys might guess I'm kind of passionate, but also picky about the things that I bring into my body that I use for my clients, right? So, and most of the people here that have been with me for a while, they know that, like, you know, my standard is here, and it's because it's my standard for me and my family. So this is real interesting. So you can find kava in a lot of different places. But the company I get it from only gets it from 3 little islands that isn't far from Technic, and I had to look it up on the map. They're considered in the East Pacific, and I think they're called Vanuatu Islands. And these islands are where the most indigenous, so the kava plant is indigenous to these little islands. So really what the company does, it goes around the world more or less and tries to find the absolute best, strongest versions of kava out there. And there's a very specific part of the plant, which is the root and the parallel roots that come out. And that is the only part they'll use. And that's been known for thousands of years as what they call the noble. And the noble is that was for the people that could afford it, because it's very difficult to get. The plant itself takes 3 to 5 years to actually mature before they can actually use that root.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's absolutely fascinating where they get it. Now, the vulnerability for this herb is if the storms roll through there, you can't get as much or the cost goes way up. And recently, I think it's actually on its way down. They've had some good growing seasons. But this noble version of the kava, so real quickly, inevitably, and I'm cool with this, when people Google everything I say, and they're going to Google kava, and again, I see some things that says, oh, kava might not be good for the liver. But I'm telling everyone, and this will be recorded, everyone hear me close when I say this. This is a water-based kava. It is safe for your liver.
Okay.
And that's the key. And that is it's real important. So, because they have some other studies on synthetic versions that weren't so good. They came from other parts of the plant, etc. So I don't want anyone to be worried about this one. Again, if you're pregnant or you're nursing, make sure you contact your doctor, all that good stuff there. Get kava. It is that chill out pill. This is the go-to one that I probably use the most. Someone says, I have anxiety. I can see it on their face, feel it in their body, hear it in their voice, see it in their actions, all the things that they're doing. One of the first things I give them is kava. Kava is that chill out pill. 15 minutes, 20 minutes takes the edge off of things. And then usually you get to fall asleep afterwards. And again, the beauty of this one, Karen, you don't have to use it every day. So this isn't like, I'm going to encourage the ashwagandha because we're trying to give therapy to that HP axis. I want you to use min checks on a daily basis. We're trying to give the minerals back to the body, get them up across the blood-brain barrier. Kava is as needed. Like I usually recommend, carry around your purse, put it in your car, wherever you think, whatever it's going to trigger, that's when you have it.
Yeah, have it available to you. Have it as a little, a tool that you can use when you need it, which is awesome. So kava we use just every when we need it. The other two, you're saying to take every day, but I guess so with those and with other supplements as well. Are people staying on them forever, or how long do we take supplements for?
Great question. So, and especially with anxiety, and listen, I want to tell everyone out here that, and I feel confident because we've done this so many times clinically, you go on something like this and like you go heavy, like, you ramp up a little bit for a month, 6 weeks, 7, 8 weeks. And oftentimes you can back off. So it's not like the drugs and medication. You go on Xanax, which you're not supposed to stay on for more than 2 weeks at a time, even though I know plenty of people have been on it for, years. And then you go on some of these other SSRI medications. The challenge with those, they just put you on them and they keep you on them. And then they create other challenges. So it's not like a drug like that. We're talking about trying to help the human body level up. We're trying to get it to function better. So I might tell people, listen, I do think it's a good idea for you to, get your vitamin C and your B and those guys for the rest of your life, no doubt about it. But things like ashwagandha, these are tools. These are tools to very specifically help us get back to or closer to that superhuman version and away from this version that might not be the best self. So that's the beauty of this. And listen, are there people that stay on them on low doses? Yes, because they haven't changed much of their lifestyle. That's me.
Yeah. Yes.
Guilty, double guilty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I might be guilty there myself. So yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, guys, I am gonna put the link again in the chat, so you can just click on that, and then it goes to the supplements. It has again some of the information that we've got over for you and how you can access them. So check out that there. Also, let us know if you've got any questions. We've got a few minutes here, so type them in the chat if you've got any more questions that you want us to answer. Otherwise, the question we got before was just if somebody wants to work with you, if someone's got kind of a deeper question or needs some kind of one-on-one advice, how can they do that? And do they have to be in Seagrove Beach?
No, actually, no, you don't have to be in Seagrove Beach. I do a lot of practice virtually, just like we're here doing. So we're doing now. We use Zoom like this. So if people do want to reach out, they can email us, they can call us, any way to reach out. Someone on the team will find wherever you send it. There's a lot of different inputs coming around, but we can set up just like we're doing now. And I do that every day. So we've been doing it for a couple of years now. So absolutely. I don't care if you live in Australia or North Carolina, whatever it may be, if you want to dive a little bit deeper. And I always encourage that. Here I'm trying to give as much that I can be to help people level up, and most of the time you can do it. But at the same time, life is short. Don't torture yourself. Don't always try to do everything on yourself. So if you can use a helping hand, I'm glad to help out.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Awesome. Well, so just to recap our 3 keys to success. Number 1, recognize that everything becomes stimulus. Number 2 was sleep and breathe. And number 3, we talked about fixing the biochemistry and some awesome supplements that they can have as tools in their toolbox. Yeah,
so that's what I'm glad for you to do that. So remember, the goal here is we're gonna make health simple, right? So just everything that comes into your life, awareness. So I'm gonna steal that from you, just that awareness of what's coming on, what's going on, how much energy do I need to handle all this stuff going on. Number 2, gotta sleep, gotta poop. Breathing is one of the most inexpensive, powerful tools for every human on the face of this earth. You get good at breathing, you're going to get good at life, no doubt about it. And then the 3rd is use those supplements. Fix that biochemistry. Use the ashwagandha, use the mint checks, use the kava that's needed. Don't allow yourself to just get used to this. I've seen too many people get out of that mode, and it's a thing in the past. Even if you've been diagnosed with before, I've watched too many people overcome this and be like, oh yeah, I used to. So, so just allow it to happen. So those are the 3 simple health tips tonight.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. As you said, that's our goal. Let's make health simple for you. So I hope you've gotten a ton of value out of tonight. We are going to honor your time, let you get back to your evening, but we will be here the same time next week. So you'll get another reminder. Make sure you jump on, because we'd love to hang out with you here. Otherwise, good night, guys. See you next week.
Thanks. You all be awesome.